Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna stop.
It might get wet, it'll melt.
I think you do pick up on that.
Where'd you get it?
Covered.
Did you really? I had over 100 kids in school. 4 boys.
Bingo.
You know how to get them in his computer, so it'll be up when he gets here.
Yeah, Ethan, you gonna get his computer ready, please?
John.
For John.
Right here.
John right here.
Go up here.
Oh.
He's on his way, he'll be here in a few minutes.
He's
and-
on his way here, so that way he's up and going. He might ask you. So that way it's just ready to go.
Where is it?
Get you logged in, so you'll be ready.
Yeah, it's wild. See my desk is in the room. Got it.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. This August 9th meeting of the School Board of Trustees in order. First off, we'll have the pledge of allegiance and moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start with item C, approval agenda. Every motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
Second.
We moved and seconded to approve the agenda for this evening. All those in favor? Or is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, motion carries 5-0. Okay, here we go. Consent agenda, which consists of regular board minutes, donations, ECA purchase request, field trip request, financial claims reports, personnel report, and Sarah's going to read the personnel report, please.
All right, Northeast State Corporation personnel reports August 9th, 2021. We've got Sally Silica, junior, senior high school, director of guidance and counseling. That is going to be effective first contract date for the 2021-2022 school year. It's a 215-day contract. We've got Amber Bailey at Morocco Elementary, special education teacher, K through 6th grade. Effective date is the first teacher contracted day for the 21-22 school year. We've got Jessica Lake Village, Lincoln, Morocco Elementary Schools, elementary counselor, K through 6th grade. First contracted day for the 21-22 school year, 183-day contract. Dakota Ward, junior, senior high school, English teacher, first teacher day for the 21-22 school year. Allison Walsh, Morocco Elementary, 4th grade teacher, first teacher contracted day for the 21-22 school year. Brianna Williams, Lake Village Elementary School, kindergarten teacher, first teacher contracted date for the 21-2022 school year. Oh goodness, we've been busy. Nicole Trisenberg, Lincoln Elementary, junior, senior high school, special education teacher, K through third grade, junior, senior high school consult. First teacher contracted day for the 21-22 school year. Alexandria Pitchford, junior, senior high school, social studies teacher. First teacher contracted day for the 21-22 school year. Skylar Barnett, junior, senior high school, chemistry, physics teacher. First teacher contracted day for the 21-22 school year. Recommended for leave, Michelle Logie, family medical leave at Lincoln Elementary School as a second grade teacher from August 11th, 2021 through, what says 201?
Yeah, 20, yeah.
Okay, so August 31st, 2021. Michelle Bogie maternity leave at Lincoln Elementary School as a second grade teacher, September 1st, 2021 through October 5th, 2021. Support staff personnel recommended for employment, Taylor Ferries, special education bus driver for KB bus route, effective August 10th, 2021, 60-day probation. Nicole Renfus, special education support staff at Lake Village Elementary School, effective date August 12th, 2021, 30-day probation, will return to the salary rate when she previously left for employment. Transfers and promotions, demotions. Jennifer Pickus, probationary status as part-time custodian at Lincoln Elementary School to permanent status as part-time custodian at Lincoln Elementary School, effective June 10th, 2021. Victor Verolio, probationary status as full, permanent status as full-time, August 1st, 2021. There's a blank space with no name
Oh, that's, I think it's,
for.
I think that
It's
is.
for Victor, yeah.
Is it? Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Charlotte Rendon, part-time cook aide at Lake Village Elementary School, full-time cook at Lake Village Elementary School, effective date August 11th, 2021, 60-day calendar probation for insurance benefits. Samantha Corritt, part-time cook at Lincoln Elementary School, full-time cook at Lincoln Elementary School, August 11th, 2021, 60-day probationary for insurance benefits. And then we have Alcona McKinney, special education one-on-one support staff at Lincoln Elementary School, special education one-on-one support staff at junior, senior high school, effective date August 12th, 2021. Extracurricular personnel. Pamela Hamill, elementary volleyball coach for Morocco Elementary School, spell bowl sponsor at Morocco, math bowl sponsor at Morocco, and it's going to be effective for volleyball. It's 2021 or 21 to 2022 school season or volleyball season. For spell bowl, 21 to 22 school year, math bowl, 21 to 22 school year. Glenda Sanders is student council sponsor at Morocco Elementary School for the 21-22 school year. And Karen Madrigal, varsity track head girls coach, 2021-2022 track season. Resignation, retirements, terminations, non-renewals of personnel. Pat McDivitt, junior, senior high school English teacher, effective July 21st, 2021, resignation. Amy Donnelly, Lake Village Elementary School after school child care support staff, July 27th, 2021. Gave her resignation in person, verbal resignation. Jody Cockwell, Lake Village Elementary School, full-time cook, August 2nd, 2021, resignation. Kyle Baroni, junior, senior high school social studies teacher and social studies department, August 3rd, resignation. Darlene Fogg, Lincoln Elementary School, full-time cook, August 3rd, 2021, resignation. Emily Williams, bus farm, special education bus driver for community bus route, July 26th, 2021, resignation. Allison Walsh, Lake Village Elementary School, special education support staff, August 5th, 2021, resignation. Destiny Levy Bus Barn, special education bus support staff for KV bus route, August 5th, 2021 resignation. Kelly Jackson, Lincoln Elementary School, support, special education one-on-one support staff, August 6th, 2021 resignation. Amber Tagloff, Lincoln Elementary School, Title I support staff, August 7th, 2021 resignation. Evan Herr, junior, senior high school, junior high football head coach, August 9th, 2021 verbal resignation.
Well, yeah, only for tickets is at high school. So that's a clarification. We had so many. So this says Lincoln, she's at high school.
Oh, she's
Okay.
moving from Lincoln.
No, she lives at high school.
Oh, she was at the high school, no, okay. Did you have anything? We're not taking a motion or anything, right?
Just clarifying it.
Okay, can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
No, we already did that now.
We did want to approve the agenda.
Oh, okay, sorry.
We have
I'll
to
make
do
a
the
motion.
consent.
I'll
Okay.
make a motion.
We moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion?
Some questions. I had emailed about some of the vouchers and claims. So I had questions on the one from Carpet Barn for $27,464.29. That was paid from the operations fund, and it was installation of carpet at Lake Village and the high school. Power Grid Partners, $19,128.26, paid from operations. And it was the wind turbine quarterly maintenance, plus there were repair fees on the air circuit breaker. And were you gonna talk about that later, or you had sent an email about that, having trouble with that? Some of the other schools are having trouble with theirs.
I can talk about that with more reports.
Okay. And then American Seal Coating, $18,400, out of the operations, seal coating of parking lots at Morocco, Lake Village, and Lincoln. Mold House, paid from operations, it's secured school safety grant for security upgrades at Lake Village, Lincoln, Morocco, and Morocco. So what upgrades were done exactly for that?
So for all buildings, especially for like Village, I believe they had received a new server for their cameras. A lot of buildings had replaced old analog cameras with digital ones that are much clearer, easier to see. I believe at Morocco, we took care of a lockout button. That was one of them, I think. What else was that?
Blue swipes
Oh,
for emergency personnel.
they didn't have blue swipes, we had those installed. Just cleaning up some of those things to make sure that we can, because we had left some things out of last year's grant because we didn't have enough room in the grant, because it's a $50,000, to put up $50,000, you get $50,000. And so that totals $100,000. So if we had things left over, then we were able to take care of a lot of those things this grant.
Because this was like 90,000 total for all these things, so.
Probably about right.
Okay. And then Voyager is a SOPRIS, Sopris Learning, $2,303.40. Education Fund, Principal and Teacher Professional Development for Staff at Lake Village. Performance Services, $175, $138.63 out of the rainy day. That was for fencing at Morocco, Lake Village, and Lincoln, plus the 3-branch piping at Lincoln. So my question on that was, last month we had fencing for $120,000. And then, in this one is, in this 175, we still got about $15,000 more for fencing. So are we completely done with the fencing?
Do you wanna address that? We pay the fencing, we're not.
Yeah, I don't think they billed 100%. I want to say they billed 90% or 85%.
They're about halfway through Lake Village, and they haven't got to Lincoln yet. They should be close to being finished here at Morocco.
Okay, so the $120,000 we paid last month, and then we're paying $15 this month, and then we still have more that's gonna be paid for the fencing.
A little bit.
And then my question on the branch piping, it was for 160,074.85. And we had talked about, it was like 152,905 when we got that quote from Performance Services to do that at Lincoln. So I didn't know why there was a difference.
I think the billing was more than that. Was it
This is
160?
what it was. This is 152,905 is what we talked about for the Lincoln chilled water branch line replacement.
Well, I'd like parents to look that up and see if they put something else in with that. I didn't see the bill, so then you have to look at the bill.
Yeah, because it's like $8,000 more than what we said we were gonna
It should
pay.
be more.
No, it's all billed, itemized out, so it all matched up, so there may be something else that I just don't recall right now.
Okay, because that's what it says that we paid for the branch piping, so if we could get that update next month, so we can see the difference there, please. Thank you. And then the sports painting, $10,300, and that was from the operations fund for painting classrooms at the high school. Those were the questions that I had.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
The update, voucher for next month, please.
Okay, item number 3, board member and administration reports. Who wants to go first?
Morocco's very excited. We're getting excited to have kids here on Friday. We're just seeing the kids that have been coming into registration with some parents. They're just cool. So we're so glad. We're so excited. I also wanted to update you that we were able to get the Aiming to Achieve grant for the whole corporation. This is to get accessibility for all students for reading, and it will allow us to get free resources to test to see how kids read, if they read better on their own, if they read better with their ears, and give them the access to the tools. And all of this is going to provide free training, free resources for a year for us. And we have a great dedicated staff that are looking forward to being a part of it and getting this accessibility for all. So we're really excited and just with this opportunity to get kids reading more. So thank you, and we're looking forward to a fantastic year.
And I appreciate Mrs. Law about writing the grant for the district, so that was a big thing, so I really appreciate it.
All right, I'll go next too. Hi, Hankins from Lake Village. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Lake Village, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about corporation. So for Lake Village, we are also starting, if you heard from personnel report, we are hiring some new teachers, and some teachers left because we lost a really great aide to teach 4th grade at Morocco. We have an influx of students coming, which is really exciting. As of this morning, our count was up to 192 for our Lake Village members. We had to have a second kindergarten teacher, and I know that parents are asking every day, when are we going to find our teachers? But we have kindergarten and 6th grade are up to 2 sections where we're at on one of everything before. So we hired our new teacher on Thursday. She came to training. Her name is Brianna Williams, and she wasn't on that report probably yet because it just came through. Oh, she was? Okay, I was like, I thought she was, but yeah. So just really pumped about that. So keep telling your friends to move in. It's great. It's wonderful. The water's warm. Come on in. We are looking forward to all of the great things that we're doing. As Mrs. Laba talked about, we have our grant, so we're really focusing on that reading and that math achievement, and then also just our overall well-being, which gets me to our corporation piece. So I know that there was a lot of information flying around that you hear on news, that you hear on Facebook and social media about SEL and critical race theory. So I want to kind of help debunk all of that for everybody because it is not true. They are not one and the same. I know that I've talked with a lot of parents, and I appreciate those parents who, when they hear questions, they contact us and say, can you tell me more about this? Instead of just letting the rumor mills fly because Chinese telephone doesn't work. We are focusing, we do have an SEL curriculum for our corporations, and that is Second Steps. This is our principal toolkit that all of us have, K through 8. We are working on this. This gives us all of the information about what is social emotional learning, and if we can remember back to when we were in school, we also did this. If you remember learning about respect and how not to bully and use your manners, that's what this is. This is knowing about how to just be a decent human and to have those nice character traits and your rights, right? So we're teaching our kids how to self-regulate their emotions. We're teaching kids when they're frustrated how to speak up instead of just act out and yell and cry. What we are not teaching our kids in this is, I'm gonna be a little blunt, so I'm sorry about this, but like, you're white and you're bad. That is not happening, right? So the critical race theory does not connect to SEL. Critical race theory is a completely different component that is not taught in our schools. It is not part of Indiana curriculum whatsoever. You will not find it. So when we're looking at these two components, if you wanna think about how to be an overall problem solver of your own well-being, how to be compassionate to others when we're talking about, if you see somebody getting bullied, what do? You speak up for them, you work with them. Everything's in here, and if you wanna look at through here, I will gladly, all of us principals, come on, take a look and check it out. There's also some great information online. We, Mrs. Sallin, who is our K through 12 counselor, she used to be at our elementary schools, and now she gets to be just with the junior, senior high. Good job, Ron. So, but we were talking too, there's a family component piece here that we can help send out to our families every week is what are our lessons going to look like. That way you know, you can have great table conversations with your child about them. My kindergarten teacher, Miss Katie Witt, she said at the end of last year that she was really proud of her kindergartners when they were saying something. One of the kids said, "Oh, I'm just getting really frustrated right now. I need a minute before you talk to me." And they were able to articulate that. And who doesn't want that? I know I need my little future kindergartner, my little fiery redhead to learn that too, right? So these are all skills that we want as people. If you have any other further questions, the Indiana Department of Education has a list of what is approved curriculum. We do have to teach social emotional learning, so that is something that we have to teach as our Indiana standards. They give a whole list. There is a woman, her name is Dr. Lori Desitels, and she helps set that up. And I had also just finished my educational neuroscience certification with her. And in no way, shape, or form do we talk about how social emotional learning is also teaching racism or anti-white or like that is not part of this at all. So I hope that if you have questions, you please reach out to your principals or even your teachers. They will give you that information to go through. There is a part, I know that some families were talking about, the word equity is used in here. And the word equity is used in our social emotional. But equity does not necessarily mean that I'm telling you, you are wrong because you are white, right? Or your white privilege is not, that's not what equity means. So equity is trying to help people get to the same results. So I don't know if any of you have ever seen that picture of the baseball field and there's a fence, right? And there's the tall guy, so if we're sitting here and there's Mr. Rainford, he can look over the fence. I can't because I'm only 5'3". And even with my shoes, I probably can't, right? So what can I do? I can use a stool to look up. And that is something that helps us have equity to be able to enjoy the baseball game together. So we do this throughout our school corporation. If we're talking about learning equity, we have speech services. We allow noise canceling headphones for kids who have too much overstimulation. We allow breaks to move and walk around. We allow, as Mrs. Lava was talking about, reading. All of our reading supplies and all of our textbooks have a read out loud to me if you can't read the words. That's a way to level the playing field to help each other. That's what equity means here. How can we let everybody have the same success regardless of what their things are, right? So if we have ramps, equity. So I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about that because I know that was a hot topic over the summer, and I am super passionate about this. So if you have any questions and you have a lot of time, I'd love to talk about it. So I will answer anything you need. Do you want to add anything else?
Sure. So each building has binders, K through 8 actually. Each teacher in each building has a copy of a binder that has the lessons that are taught for that grade level. And so you can actually go on the Second Step website, you'll actually get a scope and sequence. And scope and sequence kind of tells you what's taught when. But it's a lot of getting along, making good friends, making good choices. I've reviewed the scope and sequence as well. There's some social media, being responsible in social media, being, talks a little bit about digital citizenship, so it's just a lot of things that goes over that, and none of them has to do with critical race theory. I have copies that I gave the board, and I'll put these out if anybody would be interested in them. So Dr. Jenner is our state superintendent of education. She sent a letter to the superintendents and to the board members not too long ago, kind of telling that basically we don't teach that in Indiana. It's not an Indiana standard. We don't teach critical race theory. So I know this is kind of a flashpoint for a lot of people across the nation. And there's a lot of questions about what is being taught, what is not being taught. So I would encourage anyone to approach the principals or teachers. If you have any questions about what's taught in the building, get a copy of the binders to see. That's just the principal toolkit that kind of talks about what's the overarching themes. A lot of times, even before we have this dialogue, the principals have been doing, if you notice, when we do monthly board recognition, they try to kind of follow a character trait about responsibleness or respect. And those kind of things. So that's part of what we hope to train a well-rounded student with as far as some of those social emotional things, but critical race theory is not a portion of that. So I appreciate Ms. Hankins offering some information we talked about, just providing the board and hopefully the community with some more information about that if you have any questions. And I'll leave these out, or anybody's welcome to take one if you like. These are just her letter, and then there's some frequently asked questions, and just kind of asks, what standards are required to be taught, and they kind of give you links to those. Is there a mechanism for parents to opt out? Yes, and it kind of tells you about that. Is critical race theory included in either the academic standards or the Indiana employability skills standards? And the answer is no. And then it talks a little about social emotional learning, and is it required? It says yes. And so anybody's welcome to have those if you like, or I'll put them in the back if they have any questions. But just to help kind of educate a little bit more about to that, hopefully answer some questions. Does the board have any questions?
No, thank you for putting that together, and Mrs. Hankins, because I have expressed to Dr. Rowe, and I talked to Mr. Hawking earlier this summer too, that I have been running errands in town, or I've been at the supermarket, and I have had people come up, or meetings in the community, so a lot of people, that's a topic that's on their mind and they're concerned. So I reached out to make sure that, give us a 2 to 3 sentence explanation, which you did a great job of, to show us the difference, so that people in our community understand the difference and know that that's not happening here. Because
And
we
it
did
is a
have
big,
parents in
it's a
June
hot
that were
topic
here.
and why it got connected from somewhere else, that's why it's important to do your research, to ask the people who do know. So I like that they were asking you and you asked us, thank you.
And it's all over the news, I mean,
Oh,
it's
I
all
know.
over the news, and so school board meetings and stuff.
Some other things that would be on my list, I guess I'll just go next. We have our junior senior high school SOS for our 7th graders this week on the 10th, which is actually tomorrow from 5 to 6. And they have an open house from 6 to 7. 11th is a work day, and our 12th is a preparation work day. Elementaries will have also opportunity for parents to drop off elementary supplies from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Our first student day is this Friday, and so we are excited. It's hard to believe it's come around again. The 18th is our first early release day, so the principal will be sending more information about that as well as a reminder. I did provide the board members with a copy of our enrollment numbers. If you have a question about each individual building, I can kind of give you the rundown. Morocco stays one section. Lake Village, we have at the moment 40, which we had 34 last week. We're up to 40 kindergartners in kindergarten, and then 6th grade is at 34. And then Lincoln is 2 sections each as well. So hopefully those numbers come to fruition and all those students come. Secretaries have not taken out move-outs yet. Yeah, for the stay. So those numbers could change after the first student day, but hopefully we remain a little bit up. I've asked Mr. LaFoon to give us an update on the fiber project. He said he has not heard anything about that yet, but he was reached back and asked him some questions. That means keeping his eyes that they're still interested in looking over our application. As far as the project, the solar is continuing. Last week, 2 weeks ago, they would start everything up, but there was an issue with the Morocco and Lake Village not receiving power. So you'll notice they took out a section of the fence. They thought that the contractor who put the fence in had hit that line, but that wasn't the case. So they replaced all of the electrical line from the building out to the solar. The pools continue, they poured the base of the pool. They're now replacing some of the doors and that kind of thing, waiting for the concrete to harden and to cure. Fencing, as you see, is pretty well finished here at Morocco. It's about halfway done at Lake Village, and then I'll move on to Lincoln. Piping, Tilar piping is wrapped up, it's finished. We also have some work going on in the restrooms at the high school. They look really nice. The restrooms across from the main gyms have been renovated, so it's all new tile floor, tile walls. All the restroom stalls are being set. They'll be working on the restrooms in the back hallway next. That's the next project. Interactive projectors, I was asking Ethan a minute ago, and so yes, the projectors are in, hopefully catch me if I'm not, this isn't correct. Projectors are installed, but we're still waiting on some modules.
Yeah, but we got the TVs, we're waiting for the PC modules for them.
Any other updates? Chromebooks have been delivered, those will be grades 3 through on up, everyone, and then K through 2 still with iPads. Any other technology updates? All of our computers have been upgraded to Windows 10.
The office people we still need to do, but all teachers and support staff have been.
Turbine. So as you notice, as Mrs. Ganzi noticed, that we have been experiencing a lot of shutdowns with Turbine. Various issues which are really frustrating because now they've given me access so I can actually see when it's generating power and when it's not. So you can see winds happening, but there's no power. So they replaced some switches. They've been out several times to just to find out why it is not performing, why it's not turning. A couple times it was on NIPSCO's side. NIPSCO was reporting a low voltage to the turbine. It's becoming frustrating. So I reached out to Tony Kirkendall with Performance Services to ask him if others are experiencing the same issue. Apparently ours was installed the same time West Central's was, so I reached out to Mr. Zalstra, Mr. Zalstra, the superintendent at West Central, and he has similar experiences with his turbine. It's down all the time, constantly calling Power Grid. Power Grid also takes care of their turbine. So I reached out to Tony to try and find out what other options do we have. Is it a vendor issue? Is it Power Grid not diagnosing the right thing that's keeping us down? Is there something else that we need to do to keep the turbine going? So we have a meeting scheduled in September to kind of talk about all the people that initially had put in turbines at the same time and see what they're experiencing and see what it is we need to do, because this is becoming very expensive to fix the turbine. But those are some of the issues that we're having. Any other questions, anything, any other guys, so I can answer, or any other principals, Mr. Coffey? Sorry, I can skip over.
All right, good evening. Little update, I'm gonna use my time to talk about the holes that we filled. We had some big ones, kind of late in the summer when they started going down. So the director of guidance, such an important job with the graduation requirements and really wants some experience in that position. We were very fortunate to have somebody come over. She was at Twin Lakes last year. Previous from that, she was at Tri-County, so she knows Dr. Rowe, Mr. Zachary, so she's had some people that from there she worked with. The demographics are very similar, and super excited about having her come in. Probably the one thing that was the most rewarding through the process was the involvement that we had. You talk about a total team effort. I had teachers having people, letting them know that we had a position open and then contacting me. I think that director's job was open for nearly a month without somebody applying, and then a teacher reached out to Sally and mentioned it to her, and she didn't know about it. So she applied and fully licensed, is going to do a great job. Secretaries, knowing people, called people, and then they applied. The assistant principal knew of a deal that was going down. So there was a lot of people that were involved in this. The government econ's another one that's very important, senior class, and Mr. Brony's done such a wonderful job. I know everybody knows Mr. Brony, got some kids I've already talked to that's gonna be missing not having him as a senior, so, the gal I got from that was coming from the Newcastle area and, went to school there, but she did a leave, the first about 12 weeks, with government econ, so gaining some experience that way, was invaluable when I was talking to her, so I don't feel like somebody's completely blind. Chemistry, physics, boy, oh boy, oh boy, everybody knows about that one. And another person reached out to somebody, and I was still on the horn last Friday at 4:25, driving up to the cookout, trying to close that deal. This gal was the captain of the DePaul softball team, played there for 4 years, was at Hanover Central. Talked to her coach last Thursday afternoon, just spoke volumes of her leadership and tenacity, and that was very exciting for me to hear. I think every person I talked to, whether it was their supervising teacher, a coach or something like that, just spoke volumes of all of these people's leadership skills, how wonderful they were as a person. I mean, I can see skill levels and experience that's gained on a piece of paper, but the quality of the person is what really stood out amongst all 4 of these people that's going to be starting in high school. The Pittsburgh girl, the chemistry scientist Skylar Barnett, and then Dakota Ward. She graduated early from the University of Southern Indiana. She's actually the girl I had talked to some prior to the first retiring, so got very fortunate that I already had that one kind of in the bullpen ready to go just in case, and it worked out great. 2 of the kids attended Hanover Central, so they're not that far away. The director's from Remington, the other girl's from Pine Village, but the quality of the person that we got coming in with these 4 individuals is what's probably most impressive. And to have those around our kids, I know they're going to see them as role models. They're going to be treated really well. They're caring, they're compassionate. And that's kind of when I was talking to the softball coach, to Paul, it's like, I can make a teacher. I really can make a person. And these 4 people, you're going to be very proud of them when they're working with your kids. We're going to feel good about it. So it was all the way up to 7:59 this morning, hoping, okay, those 2 need to get here, because I just talked to them Thursday and Friday. So everybody showed up, went through the thing. We're going to get a few hoops taken care of here this week, and they're going to hit the ground running. And we got people lined up to help them within departments and within the building. So they got people already that they're getting in contact with, share things, and just feel a little bit a part of it. So pretty happy with the way it turned out. We did really, really well for the market that's out there in the supply right now. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
And we also had teacher orientation today, so that was a nice opportunity to kind of get them ready. And so they spent the day with us, all new teachers in the district, so that was nice.
Any other for administrative report? Okay, thank you, notes.
I did have a quick question. When's our ETA to the pool to be done? Do you think we're gonna be done
End of September.
That's what I thought. That was
It keeps getting pushed a little bit.
Okay. All right, we've got a few thank yous. It says, dear North Lincoln School Board, thank you for the clock. I appreciate it. I have enjoyed my years of teaching at Lincoln, and I'm looking forward to retirement. Thanks again, Debbie Reichert. This one is from Donna Morgan. Perhaps you sent a lovely card or sat quietly on a chair. Perhaps you sent a floral piece, so we saw it there. Perhaps you spoke the famous words, as any friend could say. Perhaps you were not all or there at all, just thought of us that day. Whatever you did to console our hearts, we thank you so much, whatever the part. From the family of Donna Morgan. We would like to thank you for the cards, chimes, and kind words following the passing of my brother Donnie. Your support during this difficult time was very much appreciated. Paul and Mary Sheldon. And then Jamie Clements emailed us and asked that we extend her appreciation and thanks to the school board for the card and wind chime sent to her dad Dave for her grandmother's funeral. He gave her the wind chimes, and as an employee, also, she deeply appreciates the kindness from all of us.
Okay, move on to item number 4, recognition then scheduled at this time. Item number 5 is non-action items. We have none there at this time, so we'll move on to item number 6. Action items, 6A is affidavit for payment. Number 9,
Thank you. For affidavit number 9, we have one payment on the affidavit to performance services for $406,331.78. Asking permission for the trustee, Regions Bank, to go ahead and pay performance on this claim.
Okay, the motion to approve the affidavit payment.
Motion approved.
Been moved and seconded to approve the affidavit for payment number 9. Is there any discussion?
What does that include? The pool? Just the pool?
Mainly the pool, yes.
Okay, what else besides the pool?
And maybe a little bit of the water.
It'd be anything with a project, so once it's just a
It's not
portion of
water.
that project that gets
Right.
completed. So as they get closer to finishing the pool's gonna take more of that because, the main pipes in Lincoln, I think, have been paid, there's a little bit of retainage. The LED's completed, there's a little bit of retainage. Solar, that's.
Some of the water, the main lines in there too.
There's still a piece left.
Yeah.
So we always retain a
The water
piece.
where, is where?
Lincoln.
Lincoln. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed?
Thank
Motion
you.
carries 5-0. Okay, item number 6B, Purdue Extension Service Program for 2021-2022 school year. Dr. Rob.
Sure. You have a copy of the activities that Purdue Extension would like to do with our buildings. We're really fortunate that Purdue is very active in our district. They do a lot of great things for us. Some of those things are kindergarten family fun nights, farm to classroom, this fall, entomology, September, October, the Yummy Curriculum, January, February, March, Captain Cash, and then some STEM classes. There's also some 4-H recruitment. To the best of our abilities, we will try to have these in person, if at all possible, with social distancing and proper procedures. But they are really good about whatever mode we're in, they will accommodate that. I would ask for approval of those programs for our students.
Take a, do we have a motion to approve the Purdue Extension Service Programs for 2021-2022 school year?
Motion approved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion for the Purdue Extension Service Programs for 2021-2022 school year, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion carries 5-0. Moving on, item 6C, the 2022-2023 school calendar. Dr. Rowe.
So each year, we go through and have the board approve after discussion with the Teachers Association and all employees. How this happens is we set up another calendar based on the same premises as our current calendar. So starting with the same type of frame. So for example, starting that second week of August, toward the end of the month, or toward the end of the week. Nothing much changes. There's been requests for Christmas break to be 2 full weeks if at all possible. We try to schedule it so that we get out at a reasonable time before Memorial Day, with graduation at first Sunday in June of whatever calendar year we are. There are built-in winter breaks. There's a winter break that's an emergency makeup day. So if we don't need it, then there's no school. So the calendar doesn't change a whole lot each year. So this calendar is pretty similar to what we've had in the past. So it starts with dialogue with the Teachers Association, and they have dialogue, and then I'll send it out to all employees to get input and what they would like. And this is the calendar that we have. We do not have professional development days in there, but those can be added. And for that at later time.
But it doesn't include like early release because we don't know how that's gonna go this
Correct,
year.
correct, and hopefully we don't want to keep changing that for parents. So, once again, we had to ask permission from the state board to do that, so we'd have to ask the same thing for this 22.
So this is
We'd have to
just a
ask the
basic,
board,
basic calendar.
just a basic calendar.
Okay, we need a motion for that, to approve that.
Motion approved.
Been moved and seconded to approve the 2022-2023 school calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Item numbers 6D, out-of-school district transfer request for the 2021-2022 school year.
And we have a request for 11 students to come into our district to reside outside of our school corporation. So I'd ask that you approve those students.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the, out-of-school district transfers request for 2021 school year. We've already done some, but this is the addition to
This
it.
is not being used.
Okay, okay.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the out-of-district student transfer request for 2021-2022 school year. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 6E, North Newton School Corporation Reentry Plan Review. Dr. Will.
We approved our reentry plan back in July. As you recall, Governor has allowed school boards to make that determination regarding masks moving forward. So in thinking about how we move forward, and what guidance the board gives myself and Ms. Wynn, Lana is here, our corporation nurse, there she is. I just wanted to put this on our agenda for a couple months as we continue to go through COVID, so that if there's a change, the board can provide that guidance or give that direction to Lane and I about when would it necessitate, if at all, moving to a mask at some point. Right now, our current status is, there's a federal mandate that says masks are required on buses, but the board approved in June, to recommend but not require. So that's how nothing's changed. So we're still just recommending but not requiring. So I wanted just the board to have dialogue about, reaffirm that and say, yep, that's what we want to do. We'll revisit it again in September. Or the other thing I'm thinking is too, is that as you hear the Delta and then the students that are impacted, is there a time, what is the criteria, what is the level of deciding? Because short of calling board meeting, that decision may have to be made.
Don't we have it in our plan already? I mean, we have plan A, B, and C for all of this.
It's only the same mask, so. So I'd kind of like to have, I don't know if Lana wants to come up and.
I guess,
Provide any input, provide any input.
my question to somebody would be, I guess, to make sure everybody understands the close contact, the positive, if you're close contact on positive, to make sure if there's stuff that's sent out to the parents, so everybody understands if you're not vaccinated.
Right.
There's a different,
So currently, what we're doing is, obviously, as we said, masks are recommended and not required at this time. If your child or a student tests positive is sitting right here, anybody in a 6-foot radius to right here is technically to be quarantined, okay? Since masks are not going to be required, and generally speaking, last year, masks were required, however, not enforced to be worn in the classroom. And so all of those kids are being quarantined, okay? So everybody goes home for the 10 days from last contact with a positive person. Now, we did have a lot of instances last year where we had kids that were sick that still came to school. Parents were a little hesitant because maybe it was allergies or something along those lines, but COVID mimics all that stuff that we know to be normal.
And we also all know that COVID is not causing fatalities in our students and our kids. And yes, people do still have allergies, colds, and strep throat. I get that, and we all do. However, we still have to follow that guidance, okay? And so anybody that's in a 6-foot radius of an unmasked positive student and the student sitting next to that person is unmasked as well, is quarantined for that 10 days from date of last contact, unless you're vaccinated. Vaccines are approved for ages 12 and older. And so with that, all those vaccinated that are sitting around this positive student will be excluded from contact tracing and will be able to be in schools. Same thing goes for staff. If this student is wearing a mask and all the kids around this student are wearing a mask, then it goes to 3 feet. They have to be within a 3 feet radius to that child. So I don't think that's gonna happen this year since masks are only recommended and not required, and we really didn't have, I don't think, a stellar compliance with the mask mandate even last year. So with that being said, that's what's being recommended currently by the State Department of Health and the CDC.
So it is still 10 days, so.
It's 10 days from date of last contact with the positive student, unless they become symptomatic, then it's obviously recommended that everybody or that student get tested, and then it's 10 days from symptom onset.
Okay.
Clear as mud, right?
Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I guess my bigger question is that, we can address this each month and just reaffirm, yep, that's what we wanna do. Or is it something that if we're red for a couple weeks, does the board feel comfortable giving us that direction that we need to move to mask mandate or not? I just want you to have that dialogue. Because I need direction, because I wanna make sure our kids are safe here at school, and I know parents.
So I mean, I guess another thing I wanna say too is that data that is put out every day by the State Department of Health is observed by me every day. I'm constantly tracking it, seeing if we're changing numbers, if it's good, bad, or indifferent, whatever the case may be. We go from blue to yellow to orange to red, and that color coding is something that I track personally. And so I'm always watching that just to see what's going on, and I'm also in communication with the health department for positive cases and to kind of talk about any kind of increase in the mitigation techniques that we need to be thinking about or things along those lines. But that's, I guess I just wanted to throw that out there also.
The numbers that you're seeing on that health department, is there a back date? Is it 10 days? Is it 1 day? Like it says that new cases are 1,200, is that 10 day or?
Right, and so that usually, it's a collective number, and so I actually kind of write it down on my calendar, which I know is kind of nerdy, but I don't know.
I follow it
It's
too, that's
it's the
why
only
I'm
way I'm able to keep track of, like, yesterday we had 1,230 cases and today we have 1,247. And so that's a huge spike in cases, right? So then I'm able to kind of see, is it in our school? Is it at South Newton? Is it at the nursing home? Was there some kind of a community event that happened, which we had that last year also as a problem and a spreader. But those are the things that I like to kind of keep track of in the back of my mind, so that way I can say, hey, our numbers are up, maybe we should cancel that band event, or think about, making everybody wear their mask, whatever, the case may be.
And Lan and I communicate often, and we'll communicate with the health department as well, pretty often. And so a lot of times with that communication, we'll find out that there's a bubble that's come up, like so think Kentland, or it's not our area. And so that's kind of helpful to know it's not really in our area, it's Newton County, but it may not be our parents and our kids. I also track all the students. We have a spreadsheet that's shared by all the principals, the health aide, Lan, and myself, that I can kind of know at any moment how many kids are being quarantined or how many are positive. Buildings are really good about telling me. Lan knows that information. And then also I maintain a spreadsheet with staff, so I know who's been a close contact, who's been positive, and it's kind of a self-reporting thing. They let me know. So there's a lot of data that both of us keep, along with the principals, kind of to know where we're going to fall off the edge and where things are going to go
south pretty quickly, but I can guarantee you when we start school, we're gonna have positive cases. And you're starting to see that, schools are getting positive cases and having quarantined students. So we can't have Pollyanna glasses to know that we're just gonna be fine, we're gonna have positives. And so I'm looking for some help from the board to kind of decide when or how you want to approach, not necessarily all the other protections, because we're still doing cleaning and social distancing and quarantining and contact tracing. And the masks is a discussion that parents have. I get from parents, like, what happens if this happens? Are we have a mask mandate? And I don't know that because we don't know to what impact that's gonna have for us.
So the CDC is saying that, I'm moving by the CDC recommendations last year, they're saying that it's up to the board or.
CDC would want us to require masks. The governor has given that decision about mask usage to school boards to
He has
say,
no mask
you all,
mandate right
there's no state mandate at this time.
If I could add just one more thing, I do think that it's gonna be really interesting in the beginning of the school year, primarily because we did have the mask mandates last year. So I know that, there's a lot of controversy whether they're effective or they're ineffective in stopping the spread of COVID or any respiratory, virus for that matter. But I think it's gonna be really interesting to see once we start having positives, because last year I could tell that it's not going to spread in the school. Because we would have a positive student, we'd have contact tracing, and if we had 3 kids that ended up coming out positive on any of the 55 contact tracings that I did last year, then it was kind of odd. We didn't have that many that ended up catching it from the classroom, okay? However, we're not wearing masks this year, and so I think it's gonna be kind of interesting to see if it is really going to be, if the masks, maybe they did work, but we still had a problem with COVID. Maybe it was outside of the class, outside of school, whatever the case may be. So I don't know, I don't wanna say that I foresee those numbers to increase compared to last year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did, once people start keeping the mask off. And so I'm not sure, can't predict the future, but I think that it'll be interesting to see that kind of data come forward too, once we get back into school, kids are sicker.
Okay.
But some of that's not what you're saying. But it was interesting on the news that the CDC is pulling some of the test kits because the test kits early on, they're saying could not tell the difference between COVID or influenza, so they're pulling them off the market. So all of those numbers, to me, are incorrect. Because if you were giving out tests and they didn't know how to distinguish the two, then how do you know what numbers you're really supposed to believe?
Well, and that's the thing, this is all kind of still uncharted territory, the science is still evolving around COVID, and so things are getting better. It's kind of like any disease process, you got your square one, and then you move from there. So trial and error, that's the practice of medicine, right? So it's all evolving, the science is getting a little bit clearer, nothing is going to be absolutely precise. And 2, it's hard to say. So it depends on where that data came from. I haven't heard that the influenza was being tested positive on the COVID swabs, but I don't know. It's really hard to say. We can only do what we can do, but influenza itself is also a virus that is contagious. And we've had that in the classroom as well. So it's, kind of hard to say. I mean, we can only go with what we've got at the moment, and that's where we're at.
What exactly are the symptoms that are we looking for in any staff member or kids that if they come to school and they show up and they've got this particular symptom, we're sending them home?
Question for me?
Yeah.
So primarily it's fever. Any child or staff member that has a fever shouldn't be at school anyway, regardless whether it's COVID, influenza, strep, GI problem, or no matter what the case may be, they should be at school. But additionally to that would be cough with shortness of breath, sore throat, headache, nausea with vomiting, new loss of taste or smell, severe headache, especially with fever.
Okay.
Well, that's been, the fever thing's been that way forever, and it's supposed to be 24 hours, but.
And parents still send them.
Fever free.
They do, yes, and I actually had that last year, and I called them, I'm like, you gotta, I sent her home yesterday, she had a fever, it's not been 24 hours, she's gotta go back home, But
I mean,
I would like to still go with recommended and not required, because I've had a
Myself too.
lot of parents that are really concerned, and they came and then they expressed to us that that was a concern. I have personally had numerous parents come up to me and say, if you require a mask, I'm pulling my kid and I'm gonna homeschool them, and I don't know that we'll ever get them back here. I don't want anyone to get this, it's evolving, but if somebody is concerned and they want their kid to work, then they can, because nobody's telling them that they can't wear it, but I am all for recommended but not required.
As am I. I am all for recommended but not required. I just wanna make that clear to everybody here. I'm not trying to mandate mask on the page, trust me, I don't.
I think you feel the same way as everybody in the
Yeah.
community.
I just want everybody to know.
My opinion is the same as Ms. Diane's. It should be.
I just
We
also,
have the guidelines and we just,
Right.
we go and we
I mean,
have
it's
each
crazy,
month
crazy.
and see where we are.
The governor's gonna say wear them anyways, so I think
And if he changes that, then
That's
we have no
that's my
choice.
opinion.
We have no
But that's
choice.
the thing, if it gets changed, we need to have, the thing is, do we need to decide, we need to, a motion on that to say, okay, it's up to Dr. Rowe and administration, and
I think if the government comes in and says we're gonna wear masks, that's superseding your
That's
powers.
superseding,
That's-
oh, yeah, I agree.
I think
Right.
that's the right time when we want.
But I'm pretty sure it's in the back, isn't it in the plan that if the governor did revoke it and say, hey, we're going back to a statewide mask mandate, we have to abide
But
by
right
it.
now, your reentry plan is masks are recommended but not required. So just, I would assume if that's if that's what the board would like to do, they would just reaffirm our reentry plan and we would continue as we go. If something drastic happens, then I need to reach out to you and communicate with
Yeah,
you.
then Lana will let you know, and you can reach out, we can have a discussion via email, or if we have to have a board meeting, we'll have to have a quick board meeting. We can do it via email.
yeah, I guess we don't wanna, if Newton County is different than the rest of the state, and it's not mandated by by the governor, then if we need to make a change, we need to not wait till the next school board meeting, then
That was my
3 weeks from
concern,
now.
that's my concern about.
That's my concern, if there is a
Right.
problem that comes up in Newton County, in this school
Right.
district,
Right,
I don't wanna have to wait and call it, you can't just call a school board meeting tonight and call us this afternoon, call us at 12 o'clock today and say, hey, we got a school board meeting tonight that's set on mask.
Correct.
So we need to,
We already have a
We need
plan, we already have
no,
a plan in place.
the plan is in place is, we get Dr. Rowe and,
We already have a plan in place, so
What is
I
it?
don't think we
What's
need
the plan?
our whole reentry plan, it has all the steps.
it's recommended but not required, but that question is,
You keep saying it has a plan, I guess I don't know.
the way I understand it,
It's all across the
Dr.
board, it's recommended, not required, all across the board.
Okay, so that's what it is.
That's what it is.
that's not what I'm
Whether
saying.
it's when it goes
It
to
says
green,
that.
yellow, and red,
Yeah.
correct.
When the governor comes across and says, hey, it's a different mask mandate,
Yeah,
and that's
it's
what we'll start
different.
working on.
And if somebody's got a problem with it, hey, that's out of my hands. Yes, you
Exactly.
put it on the school board, and this is what our plan was, but the governor said this, and we have to follow proper protocol, chain of command.
I don't think we need to jump the gun and do anything and make parents nervous yet. I think Lana is a professional and she is going to communicate with us, and if we see something, then we can communicate as a board through Dr. Rowe. I don't think we need to do anything to cause any kind of panic or stress to parents right now. Everybody's kind of stressed out. We have a plan.
and you do hear of other schools that are not necessarily in our local area, but would like down in the West Lafayette area where those school corporations are mandating mask wearing in the school. And so I think it's a good idea just to make sure that everybody's still on the same page with what the expectation is, so that way the kids can be prepared.
Yeah, Lafayette,
And
West
parents.
Lafayette, but not Tippecanoe School
Right.
Corporation.
Right. But I'm, just
Right.
as
I get
an
what you're saying.
example, there are
I don't
places,
think there's
and up
many
north
that
too,
do
there's,
that.
I think Munster, I believe, was a school that also, most recently came out and said, yes, we are mandating masks now, effective, start of school or whatever, so.
And I like to look at our demographics, so.
Right.
And
we
you
are
probably do
different.
too, because, comparing apples to apples, their population.
Yep.
So,
We're clear, we're good, we're clear.
so what I hear you saying is that you're just reaffirming our current plan, which is masks recommended but not required. If something falls out of the sky or we're red for 2 weeks, which would be a significant change in our area, that may need to be a conversation that we have
at that time.
at it.
I think if it gets that bad, the governor's gonna come on and say it anyway, so.
I would hold your breath on it.
I just want, yeah, make sure that everybody understands that the way it is now, we have to have it, the board has to approve whether they go to
Correct.
required.
Board has to decide.
We're not gonna take it, Dr. O is not gonna make a decision,
Correct.
so it may take us a couple days to get it decided, but we'll get it decided.
So board's making the call, okay.
Yes.
That's, I guess, the way I understand it.
All right, there we go.
So you need to vote on that, that you're reaffirming with our current, just once again, that you're, I would ask that you just reaffirm your current reentry plan that there's still status quo, mask and recommended notified.
Okay, need a motion to approve the, Northern School Corporation reentry plan review, all those, need a motion.
That, yeah, masks are recommended, not required, and the board holds the final decision on whether masks are required.
What did you say?
Yeah.
I would approve.
Thanks. Second? Been moved and seconded to go with the North Newton School Corporation reentry plan. It was adopted in July of 2021. All those in favor? No, wait, we better see if we got any more discussion. No more discussion? Okay, all those in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Okay, item number 6F, school board meeting locations schedule.
Okay, I've heard many positive, much positive feedback from board members, parents, about having the school board meetings at the buildings. It's a nice opportunity to have the building principals and staff provide some information about what happens or programs that are at their, at the building. So I asked the principals if they would like to select dates, and so they have selected, everything would be for the corporation office, with the exception of November's meeting held at the village, December's meeting at the junior senior high school, January's meeting in the Morocco cafeteria, and February at the Lincoln Elementary cafeteria. Subject to the board's wishes.
So we're gonna do all of them within, everybody should see that we're gonna do all of them within the 4-month period. December through, November through February. Which we don't have in the summer anyway. Okay,
That's-
everybody good with
That's
that?
the ones they picked, right? You said that. That's because it's
Well, all of them got
Morocco,
them on.
Morocco school.
Yeah.
We're gonna be in the cafeteria. To be done the first event. Each school gets one day, 1 month.
Okay, everybody got that? All right, we need a motion to approve the scheduling of the school board meetings, locations.
Motion approved.
I'll second.
Been moved and second to approve the school board meeting locations schedule for the next year would be 2021, 2022 school year. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item number 6G, CIE, SC, and Indiana Online Memorandum of Understanding for an online course. Dr. Rowe.
So before we had knowledge of a chemistry physics teacher, we were really struggling to find a qualified applicant. And so one option that Mr. Coffey pursued was through Indiana Online. We have a copy of that memorandum of understanding. This is through the Central Indiana Service Center, that there is a person that's available to work with our students after their classes, that this person works. The students would actually be online for chemistry and physics. After the hiring of the personnel, this is not needed to move forward. So I would ask that the board only provide approval for this, but I'm not gonna forward this unless it's absolutely needed. If something were to happen with a chemistry physics teacher or another position. But at this point, we do have a one-body person, so we don't need to use the services.
So we,
At this current time, we don't need.
so we're gonna approve if
I would
needed,
just
approve it
approve
as if needed.
If needed, but it hopefully will not be needed. Does that make any sense?
Cause on this here, if
I
something
agree.
happens, then,
I'm not gonna send it to them. The board
no, but if
will
something
do that.
happens 3 months down the road,
Correct.
will they be able to start during that
Correct.
time?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, you're requesting approval to go ahead and,
Yes,
get it approved if needed.
yes,
Pending,
pending if I need it, but
pending
I'm
only.
hoping not to need it.
Been a recommendation, from Dr. Rowe to approve the, Indiana Online, MOU pending if needed.
Correct.
Does that sound okay?
Correct, these are for high school courses that would be
Okay.
offered in an online format, with a teacher who would follow with them after school or on weekends. So this is a little bit different than just traditional online school. We had 0 applicants for chemistry and physics. And so this was the backup plan if we could not find anybody because we're not online in this boat. When I called a couple weeks ago, Indiana Online, I was the 14th district to call, and it was like noon. Because everyone was in the same boat because of the teacher shortage. So there are lots of other courses that can be offered through this. Spanish, English, so fortunately, Mr. Coffey was able to find someone, so we don't need to follow through with sending the agreement to them. But if something were to fall through, the board is approved this agreement in case we need it.
I need a motion to approve the motion I just read on. Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the Indiana Online MOU, pending needed. All those, is there any discussion?
Hopefully we won't ever need it, so.
Correct.
Okay. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. You know, Debbie?
Yes,
Okay. Item number 6H, support staff handbook and salary schedule for the 2021-2022 school year.
You have a copy of the handbook in your board docs. I am not requesting any changes to the handbook. Ms. Zachary can address any kind of
There was
only one.
Was M new? Item M, no family first coronavirus contact, it was highlighted in yellow when you sent it through.
should have been last year.
Oh, that was in the last year. It was highlighted when I was read through it, so I just wondered if that was what was new. Oh,
The only addition was a bus driver for, once in a while, we have a bus driver that has a very long route. So if they have a route that's, is 100, their route mileage for the day for one is 150 miles or more, they'll get an extra 5 cents a mile for it. Which is basically for us is the person driving down to Lafayette and back on the special ed route. It's a very long route. So that was the only thing.
Well, if I go back to that on page 10, Mrs. Gauzy noted that the Family First Coronavirus, the act has expired, so that would not be.
So that needs to be removed. I had a few questions on it. The lost days and times with, if they have the quarantine, is that counted against them?
Yeah, you mean this, their evaluations or?
No, it's employee work schedule, lost days and times, there's more than 30 hours of lost time during the academic school year, the employee will be terminated.
We
We not count them.
Okay,
Is that the same thing?
We're flexible with that.
Okay, okay. I just wanna make sure that.
There are plenty of leave, there are plenty of leave days
Okay.
that all employees are entitled to. And so in addition to other school breaks, so we hope that nobody goes in the lost pay time, but there are times when people have to. We have some employees who don't get personal sick days, so they have to take a lost day. There are people that have family commitments or family emergencies that come up that take them into lost time. That's a good example of why
Okay,
they need that, they would not be terminated.
And we have some employees that they don't qualify for family medically because they don't work enough hours. So they always take that into consideration, and it's not.
Okay, okay. And then I was just curious, how do bus drivers make up their hours during e-learning days? If they request it.
Sometimes they will help, Mr. Clemens in the bus barn, they may, when we're doing remote learning, they do student meals, they work in the buildings helping, clean, or they get help in the library with books, they just do different tasks.
That was my first time going through it, I just wanted to familiarize with it. And with the family medical leave, what is, it says, the support staff employee may be eligible for combined total of 12 weeks of unpaid leave for 12 months for the following reasons. The employee's own serious health condition, what is it for like admin? Is it still 12 weeks or?
The federal, so I don't know, like the federal,
Okay.
allowance, it's similar for all groups.
Okay.
Okay, I think I still need a motion for the support staff handbook, salary schedule. So, right? Debbie? Anybody? Right, I need one, so, is there, do I have a motion to approve the support staff handbook and salary schedule?
Motion.
Second,
Do we need to put that we're removing
I wrote that
M
down.
and the bus route then? Okay. I'll second.
okay, it's been moved and second to, after the changes of the support staff handbook and salary schedule for the 2021-2022 school year. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Item number 6I, Newton County Park Board request for use of bus and bus driver. Dr. Rowe.
So Newton County Park Board has requested a bus at LaSalle Fish and Wildlife, for use for a local outing they're having. Escaping me what this is. This is more, do you remember what it was? They're transporting paddlers from one end of LaSalle to the other.
They're paddling to the Kankakee, but they need a bus to bring them back to Williswood.
Yeah, that's what it said in the,
They've done this in the past, you said.
They've gotten approval in the past and then they never.
Oh,
had
then the
numbers,
event
so
got-
it was
okay.
some reason or other, it's always canceled.
And the board has to approve this because it's used for our buses and it's not by statute, we're not.
it's not at school, yeah.
Right.
Okay. So basically just tell them from one end back to their vehicles.
Yes.
Starting point. We should use starting point, not their vehicle, because you have your vehicle.
No, okay, so we're gonna go from the end point
Right.
back to the starting point, is where we're home, right? Okay. Do I have a second? Okay. Been moved and approved to hold, for the request, for the Newton County, Park Board request to use the bus and a bus driver. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item number 7 is public expression. Public is invited to speak. Okay, for the regulation or guidelines for the public expression, state your name. Only oral presentations, all hand outs must go through the administration office of the superintendent. Board members will not respond to any comments. Only comments deemed reasonable by the board president will be allowed. All comments must be directed toward board members only. All comments must be 3 minutes or less. Is there any, do we have any public expressions this evening?
My name is Linda Drinsky. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother. I'm the coordinator of the child protection team for Newton County. We work with the DCS. Every cloud has a silver lining. after this last year and a half, it was kind of hard to find the silver lining. We had lots of clouds. But, with the lockdowns and the virtual classes, the silver lining was that parents found out what their kids were studying, what they were being taught. Having seen other school boards in our state and other states, all over the country, being accused of teaching CRT or critical race theory, I thought, surely not here in Newton County. And then I started watching and listening, and I saw, a friend of mine sent me a screenshot of a post on Facebook. And, it was about Newton County. And I thought, oh, no, can't be. Not in our little communities. But I started looking at the buzzwords for CRT. Equity, white privilege, white supremacy. Started asking questions, talking with friends about my concerns. Then there was an article included in this post, and I actually asked Dr. Rowe about it, and no disrespect, Dr. Rowe. She told me that it was an opinion piece. It was in the Federalist. I had already seen on the website that K-8 would be learning social emotional learning, second steps. So I asked a couple of questions about some people I know who are connected. I was told it's not happening here. The opinion piece that Dr. Rowe told me about was called How Socio-Emotional Learning Became Another Vehicle for Anti-White Racism in Schools. This was written by a lady named Jane Robbins. She's an attorney. She's a retired senior fellow with the American Principles Project in Washington, D.C. She's a graduate of Clemson University and the Harvard Law School. A little bit of history on Jane Robbins. The American Principles Project was started in '09 by a noted conservative intellectual professor, Robert George, and veteran political strategist, Frank Cannon. They joined together to establish this. Its mission was to bring back into the spotlight issues critical to human dignity that have long been undervalued, ignored by both political parties. Issues such as developing an economic plan focused on empowering working Americans, reforming our education system to better preserve the innocence of our children, and that caught my eye, and advancing the debate surrounding immigration policy. They have done a lot of work, and Ms. Robbins was a part of that. They have fought for families, and she was involved in this. The administration back in May quietly paved the way for childhood sex changes. It's apparently the policy of the U.S. government that such treatments must be given to children, or else healthcare institutions risk losing federal funding and being shut down. This is a travesty, and it must be opposed. The APP endorses Senate bill targeting critical race theory in schools and in government. Senator Tom Cotton introduced the Stop CRT Act. This bill would prohibit federal funding for K through 12 schools that promote CRT as well as colleges and universities, which compel its adoption. And it would also ban federal agencies and contractors from indoctrinating employees in CRT through training programs. Through CRT, sex education in some areas has been taught to kindergartners, mind you. Kindergartners. This is atrocious. These things can be slid through in SEL. In SEL. That is being done in other areas. We must be vigilant. I thank you all for your work, for the kids in our town. I appreciate it. Our kids need people to fight for them. Our kids need people to fight for their minds, for their innocence. I'm not a person that is used to speaking out. But I feel this is very, very important. If we don't speak out now, our kids are lost. My grandchildren, your grandchildren, they're lost. If this creeps into our schools, they are lost. There's also Action Civics. This is where they are encouraged to get involved in protests. For example, protesting gun control, in favor of gun control, lobbying for legislation to address climate change. Action Civics classrooms where they're pushed to take a stand and advocate for it. They'll be vulnerable to pressure from both teachers who wield the power of grade book and peers. What teenager wants to be the only dissenter from the class? This is something else that they need to learn civics. Yes. But correct civics, correct history. There is a Parents' Bill of Rights, and I encourage all of you to look this up. It's the Parents' Bill of Rights. It was provided by the Indiana Attorney General, Todd Lukita. Talks about patriotism being taught in schools. It talks about the flag being displayed in every classroom. I don't know if they are in our classrooms, but according to this, they're supposed to be. Our kids should be taught about the Constitution. A lot of things that this Parents' Bill of Rights talks about. Our kids are not worth fighting for. Our kids' minds are worth fighting for. And I encourage you to do so. Don't just take someone's word for it that, no, we're not teaching that. Look into it. Go look at the curriculum. Look into the curriculum. And I don't know if there's a way, but someone needs to be in charge of videos that are shown in the classroom. I don't know if they're approved by anyone, but we have a grandson that goes to Valparaiso. And last year, his class was shown a video, a movie, and it taught him because he had white skin that he should be ashamed. He was not worth anything because of his skin being white. I don't know if that video was approved by anyone, but somebody needs to be held responsible for those things that are shown to our kids. I implore you, check it out. Be vigilant with our kids' minds, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. Is there anybody, any other public expression? Okay, and no others, this meeting is adjourned.
Have a good drive home.
This is your parents. Glad to meet you.
I'm speaking from Saturday.
Well, I'm not on Facebook because I don't need to. But